to injury, I will not talk in my usual lousy foreigner's English, but I will be talking XML. So why do you not want to skip this module? Because this 20 minutes will save you days of work, and just maybe they will not call you at night, but grant that privilege to your partners who are not using their metadata properly. Now, how was that as intimidation? At least wait until after the next slide, where I will tell you the positive story. After that, we are going to take a close look at it and modify it for our SAML2 module. Next, I will talk about the huge federations like InCommon, but also about hierarchies of federations with metadata. Metadata is fundamental. Back in the first ADFS 1 days, you had to configure the trust manually. Although they made a nice user interface, it was many screens with things I didn't understand at first. Now I understand them, but I still don't want to go through those screens. Besides that, there are some subtle implementation things that the average administrator does not want to know. So the deal is this: each vendor presents its own metadata and configures itself based on the metadata of the partner. Even though I'm relatively experienced in manual configurations, I have lost valuable time too because of my own mistakes. So you want to work from metadata, then you can blame your vendors. Certificate rollover is one of those points that always convinces people. For signing and encryption, the ADFS server has two self-signed certificates. When ADFS renews them, it will be published in the metadata. Partners read the metadata and do the automatic rollover. Do you as an admin want to go back to manual? I don't think so. This also convinces partners, by the way. They can make changes without sending emails, making calls, etc. Your ADFS server will simply accept those changes. I even sometimes write the metadata for partners of my client. That's a 5-minute job, so I don't mind. And then the partner updates it when needed. It saves them a lot of time, but it also saves my clients a lot of time. Now, is that a positive story or not? Let's check if you have learned something. What will be your first question to your federation partner? Indeed, it should be, where is your metadata? Mine is here, and you present your URL. It's sort of your new business card. Let's prepare for the tough things now. There are a couple of things that are in the metadata. One of the things that's in there is an entity ID. Basically, that's the name of your ADFS server. Officially, it's a URI, so that means it can be a URN, which was common in the past, or a URL, which is more common at the moment. The real requirement, the only real requirement for an entity ID is that it's a URI and that it is worldwide unique. Quite often people just put their domain name in there and then they're fine. Okay, the next one is a URL that is an address and the capabilities of that address. That is called an endpoint. A single ADFS server can implement several bindings and or profiles, whatever you want to call them, but basically it is, if you want to talk this protocol with me, then go to this URL. Somebody reads the endpoint, says, okay, I want to do this with you, so that's where I send my stuff. And then of course, there's the notorious certificates, but we already talked about that one. Another nice thing is that you can signal to your partners what you want them to do. For instance, you want a request signed. Now, isn't that a nice dream? You change something in your configuration and the partner follows you. Perfect. No emails, no telephone call. Hey, you have already done that thingy we asked you about 2 months ago. Of course, there may be policies that prohibit things, but then their metadata reader will tell them that and they will get back to you. And depending on the business model, of course, one of you will have to budge. Now let's take a look at some real XML.